What's this we got here then? An old PC from the early 2000s, late 90s. Wrong. Inside here is a beautiful modern system. Ooh. Looks like you've been caught napping, because this baby is a sleeper build. We got an RTX 3090. We got a 5950X under here. We got an 850 watt gold power supply. Oh baby. Well, those among you who are actual fans of the channel will know that this is my series all to do with this here old PC, exploring it, exploiting it, doing all kinds of nasty things to it. Because just like your mum, exploring and exploiting old things is a bit of a pastime of mine. Okay, computer surgeon, shut the F up and show me the build. It's a pretty hot day here in bloody old England, but we're going to crack that beauty open. But of course first we've got to take out all that vintage hardware. Come out, sound card out. There we go, motherboard out. Oh, this power supply is so light. Alright, so here's our platform for the sleeper PC. You might recognise this because it's come out of my water-cooled system that I've just taken down and replaced with the ITX system. I actually kind of put this in a playlist on the channel if you want to see that, how all that went down. But basically, it's a X570S carbon Wi-Fi, pretty nice motherboard, pretty high-end, the most you'll ever really need for Ryzen stuff. And then the CPU in there is the 5950X, so 16 cores, 32 threads, great for productivity. Not necessarily that great for gaming, but productivity is pretty sweet. And then we've got some RAM to go in it as well. So we've got that here. That's some Corsair Vengeance, 64 gigs of 3600 speed CL18. Bought your sticks in separate packs. You need to make sure that the serial numbers are the right ones so you don't mix them up, because you want the ones with the same serial number to be in the same memory channel. So put this one in slot 1, this one in slot 3, and then just fill the others in with the others. Obviously if you're just using 2 sticks, you just want it in slots 2 and 4. So the SSDs go under the heatsink here. I've already done it actually, but I'll show you again. So there it is, there's a Samsung 980 Pro there, 1TB, pretty sweet. Oh, I can't get the bloody address label off because Amazon have welded it with super glue, but so it's Assassin X 120, the writing's upside down, but you're going to have to use your imagination. For a 5950X that we've got here, that's probably considered insufficient, but we're only doing this for a bit of fun, so it's going to be absolutely fine for our purposes. And guys, you can cool the 5950X with a simple single tower cooler. You just have to sort of be a bit reasonable with your expectations, so set a power limit in the BIOS and expect the performance to be a little bit lower. And they often got these little plates here like this, so you put those on, line it up. Obviously you can follow the instructions in the manual, but built a lot of PCs, I know what I'm doing. Feels pretty solid, I can pick it up by the braces. Don't ever forget to take this strip off, guys, it's a rookie mistake. So you take that off, you're going to put some thermal paste on if it's not already pre-applied, but don't get too het up about this, just like a pea-sized bit in the middle like that, absolutely fine. I'm going to put it on. I don't know which way the writing's supposed to go, it doesn't really matter. I've got some writing here, so I'm going to align it with that, but it doesn't really matter, it doesn't make a difference. So sometimes with these ones you have to push and twist, and then just dance between each side. Don't fully tighten all of one side, just do a couple of quick spins each side, of just go back and forth until it's nice and firm and tight. So I always line it up so that the cable is going out the back and low like this. Makes it look a bit neater, right? Use these little silvery bits. You're going to use that just to hook it onto the fins on the side of the cooler, right? It's going to be a bit fiddly, but it's alright. You drag it and ping it on there. And ping it on like that. There you go. Pretty sweet. Because this kind of case is going to be a bit annoying to cable manage, right? one thing you can do, and it's quite good for ITX as well, is actually if you've got a modular power supply, right, you can just hook up your cables to the motherboard first and then plug them into the power supply later. So let's do that. So we'll put those in there, and you should just like notch to notch, pop it in like that. So that's one. Now the second one is optional, you don't have to do it, but seeing as we're using a 16-core CPU, you probably should. So if you've got a cable like this, and they're up here like this, and you only want one bit, you can actually just peel the other piece away like this, and it makes it easier to cable manage sometimes, right? And it's not going to damage the cable. We're going to take our piece with the 2 square and 2 hooded, pop that in, and then the other one we just leave out hanging. Alright, easy. So again, got a modular cable from our power supply here, and you're just going to line up the notch here, the notch on the socket there, easy. Push it in, it's got to click firmly, you can't have it like hanging out, it's got to be all the way in, because that latch has to pop over it. There you go, it's all pushed in. So that's done. So that's really going to be it for most of the motherboard plugs until we actually end up getting in the case and finishing this one off. Let's get the motherboard in, eh? So normally I would put the power supply in first, but I can just see that being a problem with us trying to get the motherboard stuff put in. So let's get the motherboard in first. Not the usual way I'd do it, but hey, let's get it in. Okay. So this case doesn't have standoffs, it's just got little like cone bits that stick up. So I'm hoping it doesn't create a short on the motherboard, but it looks like they're appropriately spaced for just a regular ATX motherboard. So I think it's going to be fine. Let's pop it down. Hey, you know what? If it breaks, it breaks. There's more to life. Okay, so that's lined up nicely. With this one, it's got an integrated I/O shield for all USB stuff on the back, so I don't need to put that in. But if you've got a cheaper board, then obviously you're going to have to put that little I/O shield in. And they look a bit like this. You have to put that in first, but obviously you don't need it because it's built into the motherboard. So usually the screws you want to use for motherboard are these ones with the little hats on them. It's got the little rim around it. That's usually the ones you want to use. But you should check with the manual of your particular case, because sometimes they do use different shaped ones. Cooler Master and NZXT definitely use different ones. So, you know, keep an eye out. And then you're just going to screw it down. Okay, so we're going to hook up the front panel cables. When you're doing this yourself, like, I don't tend to use the HDD LED, just tend to do the power buttons, it's the most important one. Power switch there, goes in the top right of the slot there. The others, optional. Basically, I can't fit the graphics card in here in the standard horizontal position, because look, it's going to stick out too far, it's going to hit into this, and I can't take the piece out over here that's there, because it's actually riveted in. So if I can't get it in with this riser piece that I've got here, then I'll have to get the drill and take the rivets out. It's going to be difficult because it's not going to have anything to be secured to, so maybe we're going to have to get the drill out. That piece. Now I can put the graphics in. Hopefully it will now just slot in nicely. Okay, so let's get the graphics card power cables plugged in. Got them here. Normally I'd say use a separate cable for each one of these 3 8-pins because it does reduce coil wind, but because we're limited by space here, I am going to use the daisy chaining capability. So you always want to do this with the fan facing into the case if it's a top mounted one like this, because there's no intake from here, so you don't want to choke your fan out. So pop that in. Slide that in, up on the shelf. Beautiful. So that should be everything.
Wow. There's a wasp trapped in a bag.
Oh, no, it's a wasp. No, no. Well, if it's going to be raining, we can go to badminton. It's all fine. Okay, but that thing is probably a hot box, right? Is it? I don't know. I haven't tested it yet. I'm recording this part of the video, so why don't we check out those temperatures and some gaming tests all at the same time. Okay, so temperature testing, only 15 minutes in, and already at 90 degrees on CPU, which is to be expected with a tower cooler, really. But also, look here, graphics card 90 degrees. So I don't know if that's because I just set up the graphics card wrong when putting the cooler back on, or if it's because of the actual case that we've got here. So why don't we just pop the case panel off and see if that makes any difference. Alright, so that's come off. It's actually looking a little bit better now. As you can see, you know, GPU's dropped nicely by 10 degrees already, and it continues to come down. And the CPU has also come down a bit now, 80 to 85 degrees, which is more in line with what I expect from this. Shit. So one of the reasons the GPU temperature is so high is that I didn't plug in one of the fans properly when putting the GPU back together. So we're going to have to take it out and sort that out, for Pete's sake. Alright, so turns out it wasn't something I plugged in incorrectly. I didn't reassemble the card improperly, but I am still stupid because it was this little bugger that caused the whole problem with the fan. So shows that even perfect Adonis-like men like me, we can still make mistakes. Alright, those numbers are looking a lot more healthy now. 75 on the CPU, 68.9 on the GPU, and that is with the case open. So let's chuck the side panel on and see how that affects temperatures. Alright, here we go. So yeah, much hotter on the GPU, you know, looking at about 12 degrees hotter and a good decent amount hotter on the CPU as well. So I mean, the case isn't doing us any favours. I think if you're going to do a sleeper build like this, you need to drill some holes in the top and the bottom to allow for a bit more airflow, because there's basically no intakes or exhaust fans on this whatsoever, so you're just relying on the actual components, heat sinks themselves. But what about some games? Let's do it. Alright, so Heaven benchmark. Can we move this out of the way? So yeah, fairly expected score, but temperatures are looking shite, aren't they? How about you load up a proper game? Alright. Fortnite. And that CPU already sitting pretty at 91 degrees, which is apparently within spec. So the FPS is actually alright. Like 300 average. It feels pretty smooth. 1% lows are nice. Yeah, this is alright. I mean, I'm sure you could get more out of this system with a better CPU. Because obviously this is not the latest series now, is it? And this GPU is way too powerful for Fortnite. In terms of like thermal throttling on that CPU, yeah. Well, we are running at about 4,000 megahertz, which isn't the best, but because of the way it reads out in Afterburner, it might be that a lot of the cores are parked, and that's just an average of all of them. So I don't really know whether it's thermal throttled or not, and I'm not going into Afterburner and changing the settings, so we just have to leave that one as a bit of a mystery. But you know, suffice to say, it's not good running your CPU at 90 degrees, but it's not going any higher, so I think it's all saturated. I'm just going to pop the side off. Oh god, yeah, I forgot how hot the side panel is. Pop that off and see what that makes, if that makes a difference during the game to the clocks and the temperature and stuff. I suspect not, because we've only got a single tower cooler on a 16 core CPU. So tell you what, so the thermal throttling seems to have chilled out a little bit. So we've got a bit of, well, actually it's quite fluctuant, isn't it? Come here, boy. Ugh. Oh, oh no! Ah! I'm about to get killed, aren't I? No! Oh. Alright, let's get out of Fortnite, because I can't stand to play any more of this. Apex Legends. High settings. Not very high, not ultra, just plain old high. Let's see how we get on. Again, I cannot see the screen very well at all. The brightness is low. It's a really cheap screen. That's going to be my excuse for not kicking ass. Also, haven't played this game in probably 2 months. This really is an orientation match. Oh! I didn't even see that guy. Jesus. That was the end of the game. That's the weirdest game of Apex I've ever played. Okay, Cyberpunk, Ray Tracing Medium, 1440p, DLSS Auto. Let's run the benchmark. Alright, and there's the result, 96 FPS on the 3090 and 5950X. Is that good? I don't know. I can't remember, but I'm sure it's fine and it's perfectly playable. It's 1440p with ray tracing on and mostly ultra settings, so I'd say that that's pretty good. Guys, that brings to a close our series on this old PC that we managed to dig up from going to landfill. And sleeper builds, what do we think about them? Personally, I would never use it. I don't really see the appeal. It's just a fun gimmick, something, a fun hobby to do, a great video to make, but not something I'd keep in my permanent collection. The reason is, I go to all these lengths to make my setup look nice and clean in general. Then just to put something old on there for the sake of a gimmick probably isn't worth it for me. But I know sleeper builds are really popular in the community, so I want to see your thoughts down in the comments below. After we're done here, I'm actually just going to take all the parts out of this again, because I actually need them to do a project up with an advertising agency up in Cardiff, so I need to take all those parts out and then do that. So I'm working on an upgrade for them. But basically, guys, that means if you want this case, or if you want any of the motherboard, CPU, or other bits like that, you can put a comment down below. Or email info@pc36.co.uk and we'll send it out to you. I mean, you just have to cover the postage and we'll send all that stuff out to you if you really want it. I'd rather not throw it away if possible.